This is the Late Round Podcast with your host, JJ Zacharisa.
What's up, everyone? It's JJ Zacharisa, the editor-in-chief at FanDuel and at numberfire.com, and this is episode 573 of the Late Round Podcast, with many shows that are part of the FanDuel Podcast Network. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, football fans, the NFL season is in full swing as Week 9 approaches, and FanDuel is giving you the opportunity to get in on the action. This week, the FanDuel NFL Sunday Million Contest is a whopping $1.75 million, with first place taking home $300,000. All you have to do is head over to FanDuel today and click on the NFL Sunday Million Contest. Draft your lineup of players, sit back, and enjoy Sunday NFL football. Go to FanDuel.com today to participate in the NFL Sunday Million. Eligibility restrictions apply. Go to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app for more details. Trend 1 this week is that Dallas Goedert saw a 43.8% target share for the Eagles on Sunday against the Lions. In 2 games now without Zach Ertz, Goedert has scored 12 and 13 PPR points without finding the end zone. He's hit 70 receiving yards in both contests when he hadn't hit 70 in games played with Ertz all season long. This is similar to what we saw last season, and it was a reason I didn't like Dallas Goedert during draft season. Last year, Goedert had 3 top 12 performances. 2 of those performances came without Zach Ertz, and that was when Goedert played 4 games without Ertz. Goddard's a tight end 1 from here on out because of that trade. Over the last 2 weeks, the New York Jets have targeted their running backs on 40% of their targeted attempts. Their season-long average before those games, so through week 6, was 18%. This is why I said on yesterday's show that Michael Carter's recent production is not really sustainable. He's not going to keep seeing double-digit targets per game. But it's a pretty crazy split, especially when you consider the team with the highest running back target share this season, the Lions, are under a 30% target share for the season. The Jets are at 40% to their running backs over the last 2 games. Trend 3 is that the Rams wide receivers now have a 75.2% target share in the season. That's about 4 percentage points higher than the team in second, the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm bringing this up, though, because the Rams are currently pacing to have the highest target share of any team since 2011 to the wide receiver position. The highest single-season target share came in 2015 from the New York Jets when they targeted their wide receivers on 75% of their targeted throws. That was when they had Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker. But the Rams are currently higher than that, mostly because of Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, who have a combined 54.4% target share this year. Over the last 2 weeks, Allen Robinson has seen target shares of 12.9% and 14.8%. Those are the 2 lowest target shares of his season. Robinson only had 2 games throughout the entire 2020 season where his target share dipped below 15%, and he's already matched that. He still hasn't ranked higher than wide receiver 47 in a given week this year. Last year, he ranked that low just twice. If you haven't dropped Allen Robinson yet, you can probably do so, at least in most 10 or 12 team leagues. Zack Moss has really been utilized as a pass catcher for Buffalo. Over the last 3 weeks, he's seen target shares of 16.7%, 9%, and 17%. He has 15 targets over his last 3 games. That's just 2 fewer targets than Emmanuel Sanders during this time. He hasn't found the end zone over this stretch, but when he starts finding the touchdown column, he's going to really pay off. Within the context of the tight end position, Travis Kelce's been fine this year. He's been a top 7 weekly tight end in PPR formats in all but 2 games. Within the context of Travis Kelce, things haven't been as great. He's currently first in tight end points per game, but he's just 0.1 points ahead of Mark Andrews. Kelce's given us 2 performances of single-digit fantasy points scored this year. That happened only once throughout the entire 2020 season. I don't think Kelce is toast. The Chiefs' offense just isn't cooking like we've seen in recent seasons. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they're not producing as many explosive plays. Still treat Kelce as the tight end 1 in fantasy, but he's not giving you the edge that he gave you last year. Jonathan Taylor has now had 5 straight top 10 running back performances in PPR formats. And in week 8, his usage, it got even better than it's been, at least on the ground. Through week 7, Taylor had averaged a running back rush share of about 63%. This past Sunday, that running back rush share was 94%. Let's hope that continues, because if it does, it could just completely solidify Jonathan Taylor as a top 5 guy in fantasy football. Without Mark Ingram on the Texans, we got zero clarity with that Houston backfield. There was a negative game script, so understand that things will change depending on that game script. But against the Rams, the highest running back rush share on the Texans, it came from Scotty Phillips. He saw about 35% of the team's running back rushes. You can avoid this backfield until we see something drastically change. I wouldn't be overly worried about Mike Williams, but I think adjusting expectations compared to the first few weeks of the season is more than reasonable. After having performances of 22, 22, and 33 PPR points during the first 3 weeks, Williams has given us just one relevant game over his last 4. He's had a sub 15% target share in 3 of those 4 games. I can't really recommend you go buy him given the fact that the target share actually has dipped. It's not like his peripherals are still really, really good. But I don't think this is what we should expect from Williams. It'll be somewhere in the middle of those first few games in these last 4. So for now, you've got to hold. And unfortunately, he just doesn't look like the full-blown wide receiver one that he looked like after week 3. The last trend this week is that Elijah Mitchell hasn't seen a target in each of his last 2 games, but he's finished as a top 12 PPR running back in both of those contests. Last week on the 15 Transaction Show, my breakdown on Mitchell was that I saw him more as an RB2, and probably a lower-end RB2. I still think that's generally the case from here on out. He had a great game against Chicago, and as I've said all along, I think he's a really good running back who fits Kyle Shanahan's offense well. But you have to ask yourself, what happens when the 49ers are in an actual negative game script? What happens to Elijah Mitchell's workload? They've been fortunate to have been in good shape over the last couple of weeks in terms of game script. But in games where that script could go south, there's at least some worry. There's a lot of worry. Keep treating Mitchell as an RB2. I've seen some people say that he's an RB1, but I can't get behind that. His production over the last couple of weeks has been RB1 type production, yes. But he needs a better receiving role to actually be an RB1, at least in PPR formats. That's going to do it for today's show, though. Thanks to all of you for listening. If you've yet subscribed to the Late Round Podcast, make sure you are by searching for it pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter @LateRoundQB. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll talk to you tomorrow.